It's stressful if you're not working or if you're working from home. It's stressful if you're considered essential and have to report to work and be exposed to people who may be infected with COVID-19. Stay tuned. Coming up in this episode, I discuss 3 types of stress you may experience during this pandemic. But first, let's hear from our amazing sponsor, Midwest Fire. Every day, the hard-working men and women at Midwest Fire build the most reliable firefighting apparatus to be found anywhere. Their customers know a well-built fire engine means lives and property saved. Midwest Fire, a factory direct manufacturer dedicated to helping you extinguish fire before it becomes a raging beast. To learn more about what fuels their passion, visit MidwestFire.com. Hello and welcome to episode 314 of the Situational Awareness Matters show. I'm your host, Rich Gassaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision making for individuals and teams who work in high risk, high consequence, time compressed environments with changing conditions. The SA Matters mission is simple. We want to help you to see the bad things coming in time to prevent bad outcomes. Today's feature segment is sponsored by the Situational Awareness Matters Online Academy. The Online Academy trains and certifies your members on situational awareness skills essential for improving high-risk decision-making outcomes. To learn more about this highly acclaimed program, visit samatters.com and click on the Online Academy tab under the Training section at the top of the homepage. I'm going to be offering for free 14 one-hour training programs on situational awareness. They're going to be 2 each day from April 2 through April 8th. To learn more or to sign up, visit samatters.com, click on the First Responder tab, and then the Virtual Training Dates tab underneath the training programs header at the top of the homepage. For those who subscribe to the SA Matters newsletter, details were sent out to everyone last week in a newsletter. And finally, if you're looking for ways to get your members trained while maintaining social distancing restrictions, all of our programs are being offered virtually. If you want to learn more, just visit samatters.com, click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the homepage, and I will get back to you. Last week's show, I discussed situational awareness barriers that are causing me concern during this pandemic, including fear, worry, anxiety, illness, anger, frustration, denial, fatigue, hypervigilance, inaccurate information, overwhelm, too much information, stress, assuming multiple roles, complexity, distraction, preoccupation, understaffing, unpredictable staffing, inadequate training, lack of clarity of mission, lack of SOPs or SOGs, purposeful defiance to SOPs or SOGs, confusion, complacency, sense of invulnerability, personal biases, lack of shared sense-making, and uncertainty. If you missed it, you're going to want to go back and watch that episode. One quick note, if you're new to the show, stick around after the feature segment and learn more about our mission and how you can host a live event and how to get connected with us on social media. Okay, let's jump into today's feature segment, my discussion on 3 types of stress that you may be experiencing during this pandemic. As I was preparing for today's show, I recalled various times in my 30 years on the line as a first responder where stress impacted my performance and my well-being. Responders are generally aware of the stresses that come from doing their job. Crawling into a burning building while searching for victims is stressful. Treating a major trauma victim, especially if that victim is a child, is very stressful. Even riding in a fire engine while responding to a call is stressful. Workers also experience many similar stressors, especially if they work in high-risk environments. Low-risk jobs can be stressful as well. We need to acknowledge that. And in today's environment, there are added stressors. It's stressful if you're not working or if you're working from home. It's stressful if you're considered essential and have to report to work and be exposed to people who may be infected with COVID-19. However, people don't always realize when they're feeling stress because stress doesn't always feel like physical or emotional stress and strain. Endorphins and adrenaline stimulate the brain, in part to prepare you for the often discussed fight or flight response. This stimulation may cause you to also feel excited, not stressed. When you perform a task successfully, you feel some form of adulation or excitement, not stress. You may feel victorious. You may want to high-five your coworkers. It's exciting. And while it may not feel so, it is a form of stress. Let's spend some time examining 3 types of stress. Acute stress. The most common form of stress people experience on the job or while working from home or in the sudden loss of employment is acute stress. It manifests from recent events or from the anxiety when thinking about upcoming events, like the stress from anticipation. Acute stress causes the brain and body to release chemicals that, in small doses, can be helpful, even life-saving. When the amount of acute stress is limited in duration, it may cause brief moments of fear, anxiety, excitement, or exhilaration. Large doses of acute stress can cause tremendous physical and mental fatigue. I experienced both ends of the acute stress spectrum while on a family vacation to the Cedar Point amusement park a few years ago. There I got to ride an amazing roller coaster called Top Thrill Dragster. Keep your arms down, your head back, and hold on were the last words I remembered hearing as I was launched down the track at 120 miles per hour and then vaulted 420 feet into the air and back down again. From start to finish, 17 seconds of sheer terror. It was an experience of acute stress, but it sure didn't feel like stress. I loved it. While waiting in the hour-and-a-half long line for the ride, I got to observe the faces and hear the screams of other stressed riders preceding me. The anticipation added to my level of acute stress. As the day went on and I rode more and more roller coasters, I started to experience the physical and psychological symptoms of prolonged acute stress. I got a tension headache and an upset stomach. My muscles were aching, and much to the disdain of my children, I became irritable. I had been overexposed, or you might say overdosed, on acute stress chemicals. Because of its short-term nature, acute stress doesn't have enough time to do the extensive damage associated with longer-term stressors. Symptoms of acute stress may include anger, irritability, anxiousness, depression, tension headache, back pain, jaw pain, muscle tension, stomach aches, heartburn, acid stomach, flatulence, diarrhea, constipation, irritable bowel syndrome, elevated blood pressure, rapid heartbeat, sweaty palms, heart palpitations, dizziness, migraine headaches, cold hands or feet, shortness of breath, and chest pains. Because the list is so extensive and the symptoms can result from many other conditions as well, it is common for the symptoms of acute stress to be attributed to other causes. Anyone can experience acute stress at any time, but in the current environment of the COVID-19 pandemic, you are far more likely to experience acute stress. The good news is acute stress is highly treatable and manageable. Episodic acute stress. Episodic acute stress occurs in people who suffer frequent bouts of acute stress. People in this category are often referred to as having lives filled with chaos and crisis. In the COVID-19 pandemic, many of us have been vaulted into the category where we're worried about all that can go wrong. Always being in the environment is, in a way, of having our lives in disarray, having high demands placed on us that can be attributed and contributing to episodic acute stress. The COVID-19 situation has caused upheaval in our professional lives and in our personal lives. There's a lot of chaos and unknowns right now, and it's impacting nearly everyone I've talked to. Chaos and unknowns, worry about what can go wrong or what the future holds, concern for personal safety and the safety of our family is creating a lot of repetitive stressors. If you're a first responder or a healthcare provider, or you're working from a job that's considered essential, first, thank you. But also know that the stress of the job and the unknowns of the risk to your well-being and the elevated demands of being placed on you on the front lines is creating stress. Even for those lucky enough to have their personal and financial houses in order, it is nearly impossible to insulate ourselves from the stress of this pandemic. Imagine for a moment a person working in an environment that is excessively noisy or bright or cold or windy. Repetitive and or lengthy exposure to those elements will create stress. The stressors of the current pandemic create a metaphorically similar environment. Lengthy and repetitive exposure is causing episodic acute stress. The simple symptoms and consequences of episodic acute stress may include being overly aroused, including easily frustrated, shortened temper, irritability, anxiousness, tension, nervous energy, feeling and acting rushed, being abrupt, hostility, hypertension, chest pains, heart disease. Ironically, being exposed to someone exhibiting the symptoms of episodic acute stress can in turn increase the stress level of those within the circle of influence. It can truly be a vicious circle. This is especially concerning to me because of the stay-at-home order that is affecting so many. Episodic acute stress can be compounded by our personality types, especially a type A personality, who are often characterized as being highly competitive, impatient, and having an ever-present sense of urgency to everything. Type A's can, at times, be aggressive and seemingly hostile, sometimes mildly, sometimes not. Research into the cardiac impact of stress suggests that type A's may be more likely to develop coronary artery disease as compared to the more docile, laid-back, relaxed type B personality counterparts. The absence of a action-oriented, fast-paced, high adrenaline, rush-inducing environment may actually cause even more stress for individuals with type A personalities. Episodic acute stress can be manifested from chronic worry also. All of us are susceptible to being lulled into worry about the unknowns of this pandemic, compounded by all the media and social media coverage. The world we are now living in holds many unknowns and can create significant consequences, some with forewarning and some without. People are seeing the consequences of this pandemic daily, and it can not only have a cumulative effect, but it can also cause us to become overly worrisome about the bad consequences that can impact us or our loved ones. This can contribute to stress-induced anxiety and depression. Unlike acute stress, which is short-term and relatively easy to manage, people experiencing episodic acute stress can require intervention that may include help from a professional therapist. Treatment can last from a few months to years. And the good news is it's often very effective. Lifestyles also impact stress. When people have jobs or lifestyles that put them in the fast lane, meaning they're always in the middle of the action, it can be addicting. This constant exposure to exciting work can become ingrained, even habitual. These people may see nothing wrong with their pedal-to-the-metal lifestyle. They may not be able to see the impact of stress that is having on them as they live in that fast lane. If they do see it, they're likely to blame it on someone else or on external events. Pride and ego can also be a factor. This is especially true for first responders and healthcare workers, people used to being caregivers, not care receivers. These people may be so proud that they don't want to ask for help. They may also simply concede that the stress of their job is just part of who they are and what they do, and resign themselves to that nothing can be done about that. Victims of episodic acute stress can be very resistant to admitting that they have a problem and very resistant to changing anything in their lives to fix the problem. If their stress is compounded by, or maybe even exaggerated by, obesity, alcohol abuse, smoking, and or a sedentary lifestyle, they may be very stubborn to change the habits that they have or to seek help. Chronic stress. Chronic stress is never thrilling and never exciting. It eats away at you every day, month after month, year after year, and it can be tremendously destructive. Chronic stress occurs when a person is in a repetitively stressful environment over a long period of time and they can't see a way out of their situation. They feel trapped, so hopeless and so helpless that they'll actually give up trying to even find a solution. There are many people who will be exposed to chronic stress if this economic impact of this pandemic is long-lasting, and it is likely to be. The chronic exposure to stress over long periods of time can lead to desensitization. The stressed individual may become so accustomed to being stressed that they no longer feel stressed. They are numb to their stress. They can, however, feel the excitation and exhilaration of acute stress because acute stress is novel or new, while still ignoring their chronic stress and their chronic stress symptoms. Left undiagnosed and untreated, chronic stress can lead to severe consequences, including depression and suicide. Sometimes there are signs and symptoms, but sometimes there's not. Sadly, a person can become so used to feeling the chronic stress that they will actually feel uncomfortable when not in a stressed environment. I've seen this. Okay, I've experienced this. There have been many times when I was so stressed at work that I needed to have some time off. And while off work, I felt uneasy. And for reasons that were hard to explain. I yearned to be back at work in the very pressure cooker environment that led to me to take time off to begin with. I'd become comfortable in my chronically stressful environment. There are several things that you can do to help manage the impact of stress on our bodies and mind. Here are just a few. Exercise. 30 minutes of moderate exercise 3 times a week. Eating a balanced, low-fat diet. Drinking plenty of water, and plenty is at least 8 glasses a day. Get plenty of rest. 8 hours a day should be your goal. But there are wide variations in the opinions of experts about how much rest is enough. Get a hobby or an activity that you can focus on that will take your mind off the stresses of the pandemic. Be remotely social, via phone, Zoom, Skype, texting. There's mounting evidence that social interaction can boost the immune system, which helps to lower stress. In today's environment of social distancing, avoiding people interaction can add to your stress. Since 2007, SA Matters instructors have helped more than 1,200 organizations and 85,000 individuals improve high-risk decision-making, including first responders, industrial workers, military personnel, business leaders, medical professionals, utility workers, highway workers, aviation workers, oil refinery operators, and more. If you or someone you care about works in a high-risk, high-consequence, decision-making environment, then we are here to help to improve their safety and survival. And I want to help you accomplish the most important mission of all, and that is to go home to the ones who love you. Normally, I would take a moment to thank the organizations that have hosted situational awareness programs and list my upcoming events. But the pandemic and social distancing rules have caused all of my programs, or most of them, to be postponed. I guess I could thank the organizations whose programs were scheduled, knowing that they will be rescheduled on the backside of this pandemic. That would include Eastern Oregon EMS Conference in Pendleton, Oregon, Kitsap County Training Officers Association in Washington State, the Spring Fire Department in Spring, Texas, Exxon Mobil and their corporate school held at the Texas A&M University, the Creston Fire Department in Creston, British Columbia, the Fire Department Instructors Conference in Indianapolis, Indiana, Buckeye Partners, the New York State Fire and Life Safety Educators Conference, which was to be held in Montour Falls, New York. All of our programs, past, postponed, and future, they're all listed on our website if you want to see where we've been or what's upcoming. Just head over to the SA Matters website, scroll about halfway down the homepage, and you'll see a red box that says Upcoming Events Schedule. If you're interested in hosting a program now, I'm doing all my programs virtually. If you're interested in hosting a program when the pandemic is over, just click the Contact Us tab at the top of the homepage and I'll give you a call. And remember to check the show notes for how to subscribe to our newsletter and how to follow us on social media. There we share ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to improve the skills of critical thinking and resilient problem solving. Well, that's it. Episode 214 of the Situational Awareness Matters show is complete. Thank you to our platinum sponsor, Midwest Fire. Thank you to our feature segment sponsor, the Situational Awareness Matters Online Academy. And thank you to our associate sponsor, Chief Miller. And most importantly, thank you, the listeners and viewers of this show, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters Show with Dr. Richard Gassaway. If you're interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit his website, samatters.com. If you're interested in booking Dr. Gassaway for a program, or if you would like to be a guest on his show, click the Contact Us tab at the top of the homepage.